reason, ship owners cannot find crew members to work on ships sailing to those ports. Fear they will become infected.
This is the largest international response in the history of the CDC.
The Ebola outbreak that is ravaging parts of West Africa is the largest, most severe, and most complex in nearly 4 decades history.
Hey there, you're listening to Romager Radio. This is Coral, 717-916-5189, 717-916-5189. All right, we're back on Ebola because, well, patient 0 died, and Ebola's still alive. Now they've got a sheriff who was supposedly forced to serve paperwork and go into the apartment. Now let's talk about this, folks. The sheriff obviously wasn't in the apartment scooping up the kitty litter or washing down the walls. Starts to sound a lot like the nurse in Spain who was in the spacesuit, the hazmat suit, but somehow in the course of disrobing or doing something, she caught the Ebola eyes. Well, this poor fella, forced to go in there as part of his job, somehow caught the Ebola. Maybe somebody splashed something on him. Maybe he was helping clean up vomit and fecal material from the floor. Or maybe he was just in the room where the Ebola had been. Maybe it is a little easier to contract than they want to tell you. 717-916-5189. Now, some of you guys are going to have some stuff to say about this. Of course, Kim Il-jung, our good friend Kim, as we like to call him, is not doing so well in North Korea. Maybe he has the Ebola as well. Caller, you're on the air.
Yeah, Coral. Good for the Wednesday update.
Yeah.
So the death of the three-name person, what's his name?
Patient 0, let's call him.
Yeah, patient 0. So my first question is, did he receive the same kind of treatment and care that the doctors did?
I doubt it. I absolutely doubt it, but we don't know. Remember,
even his own country was treating him like a criminal.
Keep in mind that some of the doctors got the Z-map or whatever it was,
Right.
Sure, but they're out of that now.
And we don't even know what else they might be experimenting with.
There is a whole list of...
I'm just going to put that out there. I mean, like, they might not disclose some of the things that they're using to try to save lives.
Right.
But in this case, this was just looked like a follow-through Ebola death, similar in scope to a death in Sierra Leone.
Yeah,
a facility with those capacities.
It sounds like he just had a complete breakdown from the time he caught the disease until he died. Obviously, they've kept the details from us, but the family members weren't allowed to visit. And at one point, when they did visit, they said he was too terrible to even look at, so they didn't want to go back and see him again, which just tells you he was probably, in the full blows of hemorrhagic fever. The issue I'm having, okay, so I posted something on Facebook earlier about the sheriff contracting. Of course, somebody said, well, come on, the CDC can't keep track of every person the guy had contact with. They can't hunt everybody down. They're never going to know. And I'm like, no, this was a guy that the government sent into the apartment. This is a guy that the government knew was in the apartment. And where does he show up for medical treatment? He goes to a quick care. He goes to one of these,
Right. He goes to one of the brick and mortar retail
quick care places because he isn't feeling well. Because he's being followed up by the CDC so carefully that it occurred to him to simply call the woman who's checking on him daily or the man who's taking his temperature twice a day. This goes back to the ambulance driver I talked about 3 days ago who said it's a bunch of bull crap that anybody's following up on anything and that this is a complete cluster, you-know-what, and as the Marines would call it, FUBAR, right?
Right.
So, and why do I bring this up? And somebody else was criticizing me as being a fear monger and that I'm somehow mongering fear and making people have irrational fears. Well, you know what? I'm not a fear monger. I'm just somebody who's been around long enough and read enough and studied history enough to know that the government isn't going to tell us what we need to know when we need to know it. Now, the Washington Times today has an article, and it basically leads out like this. While the federal government and the Center for Disease Control are telling us how safe we are from Ebola and sending 4,000 American troops to help Liberia combat the virus, Americans might want to look at how our federally supervised system is performing on the ground here. And it goes on to basically say, yeah, things aren't working so well here. It's not what they want you to believe. And that we need to pay a little better attention to what's actually going on, that the technology isn't there, And the very fact that this sheriff was able to, A, forced to go in, and B, contracted Ebola potentially. And come on, we know that's what it's going to be, right? That's what we know it's going to be.
Those are good points with regard to disclosure of effective treatment for Ebola or plans to try to save an individual from Ebola. But I think that the government doesn't want to create a panic by announcing outright that we have to go into some kind of operative mode to combat what's essentially a pandemic that kills in 2 weeks.
Yeah, and the short answer is, as long as Ebola remains non-airborne, okay, it has an R value of like 2, which goes to its contagiousness. Measles is way up there with like a 30. Measles is a very low fatality rate, but it's amazingly easily transmitted. You know, one person will infect 30 people. Ebola, one person will affect approximately 2, maybe 3 people. So it's easy to contain if you can find the people who are infected. The problem is, this just illustrates that even in a modern Western society in Dallas, they haven't been able to figure out who's infected, when, where, or how. The nurse in Spain, again, proves that these infections can continue to crop up.
Well,
but God forbid it goes airborne.
The patient 0, his vector.
Yeah.
Okay, so he was an Ebola vector straight to Dallas.
Correct.
Now, he spread Ebola like 3,000 miles. You know, he went in and around Dallas, and like, who knows who had contact with him.
Right.
So it's like we're still in a gray area because it's the incubation stage. And the incubation stage is like
21 days.
3 weeks long, something like 3 weeks long.
3 days to 21 days, which is the other problem, by the way. Some people can go contagious much faster than others. But listen, you're right. He's the one, right? Now, here's the nightmare scenario. As Sierra Leone today, it's been announced that the people aren't picking up the corpses now. They're on strike because they don't feel they're adequately paid. Well, I'm sure they aren't. They are the African populace that has Ebola spreading amongst it will continue to spread throughout the world. So it's only a matter of time till one of these guys returns to India, to one of these mega cities, returns to somewhere in Nigeria to one of the mega cities.
Right.
And the virus then takes off again there. And again, then some of those people will continue to travel. It's just not going to be stamped out. And the problem is, as it continues to experiment again and again and again in the human biome, it's only a matter of time till it gets a little more infectious or goes airborne.
That's what I'm. Yeah. Now that it has such a greater access to the biome, essentially its domain now is 1 million times greater than it was when it was just contained